Why you should or should not become a chief resident is a common question asked by most junior residents to help with your decision to become a chief resident one day. Hi, my name is Dr. Frederick Acquah. Currently, I'm a third-year internal medicine chief resident in New Jersey. To my new subscribers, thank you for joining this platform. Here, we talk on faith, principles, and medicine. If you're new here, I welcome you. Under the umbrella of medicine, I'll be discussing in this video what it takes to be a chief resident and also share with you a very powerful principle at the end. Ready? Let's go. Welcome back. I've always strived to be a leader in every domain of my life. Nevertheless, true leaders are thought to be people who serve others, people who pour their heart out day in, day out for the benefit of others. I remember my day in Ghana, West Africa. A time in high school, I attended Winneba Senior High School, where I was pursuing to be the next senior boys prefect, also known as head boy, for the Ghanaians watching me. At that time, I had to read my manifesto. I had to express myself to the people that this is what I've wanted to be. This is what I've dreamt to be, the kind of leader I'll be if I was voted into power. The crucial part was when I had to be vetted by the faculty and administration. Questions were thrown from left to right. And I think I did what I could to answer them to the best of my ability. And fortunately enough, I was voted to be the senior boys prefect during the academic year of 2007-2008. You could see me in this picture delivering a speech during the annual speech and prize giving day. Also, my assistant school prefect, that's Bernard and Edward, and also the protocol prefect in the back holding the staff. The staff that shows authority, that shows leadership. Those were good times. I was fortunate enough to immigrate into the United States, and since then I've done what I can to, unleash my leadership qualities in every domain that I find myself. So you hear chief all the time. Well, if you're Ghanaian, or if you're born in Ghana, or if you're in a Ghanaian community, you hear that word a lot. It's a sign of respect we give to our fellas. We call them boss man, chief. So chief is a common thing that we hear a lot. And if you understand royalty, you understand that chief is an important title to have. So who exactly is a chief resident? So in my opinion, a chief resident is someone, a person, whether male or female, who has been voted or has been selected by a program to serve as a liaison between the residency body and the administration. That person that becomes the mouthpiece of the residents. From my research, I found that a chief resident could just be one person, or it could be, the maximum I've seen is about 5. And the number of chief residents will depend on the number of residents in the program. If there are only 8 residents in the program, at least one person being a chief is reasonable. If there are 70 residents in the program, maybe having 5 chief residents, I think is reasonable, because the duties of a chief resident is numerous and tedious. The role of a chief resident is very stressful, so having more than one chief resident in the program, depending on the size, does ease the burden of the title. So for example, in my residency program, my gift of turning off fires has made me the go-to guy when it comes to conflict resolution. The bigger the program, the more the drama. Usually you see like a high spike in that drama during the first 3 months, the first quarter of the academic year. There are new residents in the hospital, there are new seniors, people taking up new roles. So sometimes there's a clash of personalities and other stuff, so I've become the go-to guy for conflict resolution, and if you're watching me, I love some drama. Anyways, choosing the right person to become the chief resident initially requires that person to be willing to play that role. The person needs to be willing to uphold the title, and the role as a chief resident. Some highly ranked qualities of an excellent chief resident is someone who is relatable, someone who is approachable, someone with excellent work ethics, someone with a positive attitude, someone who has excellent communication skills, someone who is a great listener, and someone having top-notch management skills. So if you possess these qualities, there is a chance that you'll be an excellent chief resident. And to the junior residents watching me, being the smartest person in your class does not necessarily mean that you're going to be the chief resident. Also, not being a chief resident does not mean you will not get into fellowship. So I read this interesting study on qualities important in selecting chief residents. So I left the link below for those that are interested in reading that. In my residency program, chiefs are selected in their third year of residency. There are some internal medicine programs that there is a designated chief year, meaning after your 3 years of residency, you have to stay in the hospital for another year to play the role as a chief resident. But all these stuff, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your energy? Being a chief resident requires commitment, all right? It requires commitment because the amount of work you have to put in does not match the compensation you get. All right, people think, oh, I'm going to become chief, I'm going to be paid extra and I can use that money to do this or that. Compensation does not match the amount of work you put in. The extra hours you have to stay up to maybe help fix a schedule, resolve a conflict, come up with who is presented what at what time, reaching out to the attendants to give lectures. All that takes time, and chiefs are not well compensated. And the funny thing here is there are people in other programs who have the opportunity to do moonlighting. So if I can moonlight, I can make extra. So that little compensation I'm getting, does not match the extra money I can make if I moonlight. But not every program supports moonlighting during the third year of residency. So being a chief too, you become the target. If any faculty has any grievances, any issues, they don't talk to that person, they come to you. So now you're that guy, you're that person. They come to you for everything, and it's your job, you're the chief, to figure out how to fix that thing, how to help that person become better. So you have to be ready, for all that stress also coming from the faculty. Stress coming from the residents, you have to be that person, giving that extra time, giving that extra listening ear, because they have to speak with someone. If something is going on and the intern especially cannot discuss with anyone, it becomes a problem for the program, So this makes it very time consuming. So the reason why I mentioned one of the qualities is excellent time management is because of that. If you do not have excellent time management, you're going to be spending your whole day resolving conflict, talking to interns or residents, and you wouldn't have enough time to study, enough time to do some research or enough time to have quality time for your own life. So you need to have excellent time management skills to be an excellent chief resident. So now would I recommend that you pursue to become a chief one day? Well, let's put it this way. So first of all, if you're applying for fellowship, those trying to get into fellowship, the fellowship of your dreams, during your application on ERES, there is a box apparently that you can check. You can check a box that indicates that you're chief. So I think that being a chief resident can influence the decision of a program director, but I don't think that's the only reason why you can get into fellowship. Okay, so don't let that be a standing block. If you do not become a chief, you can still apply for fellowship, and if you're a strong candidate, you'll get into fellowship. Being a chief resident also has a plus because you've had an administrative role, you know what it takes, you've learned the business aspect of being in a hospital or clinic, or managing people, being a manager of a group of residents. And when you're applying for attending role, they can also look at that. You may get better compensation compared to the other candidate who did not have that role during their final year of residency. So being a chief is also a plus. Being a chief also gives you the opportunity to contribute to the growth of the program. Being a chief, your opinion matters. So here, when time comes to selecting the new interns, the new residents for the program, during interview season, there are certain roles that you have to play to help the program out in terms of the growth, because selecting the right candidate can be challenging sometimes. Like I mentioned earlier, being a chief resident also gives you a upper hand on understanding the business aspect of healthcare. And also it enhances your administrative skills. So I did go to the American College of Physicians website, and I did find some webinars. So those that are interested, you can check it out. It may be helpful. You may learn something from it that may help you, whether you become chief or not. So this brings me to a principle that I have come to understand that plays an important role in my day-to-day decisions. And it's a principle that comes from one of the wisest men that ever lived on this earth. And his name is, boom, King Solomon. Okay, so this is what he said, all right? And it goes this way. A good name is better than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Choice is yours. If you want to be an outstanding resident, go for it. If you don't want to be, so be it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in my next one. Shalom.